Is it just me, or does life seem a little bit uncertain right now? There seems to be uncertainty everywhere. Maybe it's in personal lives. We feel the sand shifting underneath us. Things are changing. Maybe it's even a change we've initiated, but we're not exactly sure where it's going. I can speak to that. There's uncertainty there, and in that uncertainty, there's a challenge. Maybe you look at our nation and our politics and all that's going on right now and the controversy and oh my goodness, and we just think, there's some uncertainty there. Maybe we take that globally and look at all that's happening, not just in our nation, but in our world, and there's some uncertainty there. We bring it more back home to our spiritual community here. We're going to be going through a major shift here in a couple of weeks with my decision to step aside as your senior minister after just a couple of years. There's just a couple of 3 years, as they say. I think it's 22 to be precise. Big change, big uncertainty in that change. So as I listed those things, can anyone say, oh yeah, I relate to one or more of those? Let me just see. Okay, good. So this is a message for us all this morning. Otherwise, if you didn't raise your hand, I would say, okay, go home. We had a great song. It's time to leave because we got nothing to say. So we're going to talk this whole month about living, actually more than living, actually rising, soaring, flying, thriving in uncertainty. But I want to lay two pieces of groundwork before we do begin that topic with our theme for today. The first piece of groundwork is there is one and only one reason that uncertainty is happening. That this change, that we don't know exactly where it's going. There's only one reason it happens. I asked first service, I got all sorts of answers, finally got the one I was looking for. So I'm just going to tell you. The one reason... We won't spend the time. And then make people feel bad because, no, that's not the right answer. Okay, Mary Beth has her hand up. What is it? You want to know? You want to say?
Because we're not trusting enough.
That's a great answer, not it. Perfect. Oh, okay, you want to play. Okay, yeah, Fuzzy. A chance to return to love. Beautiful, beautiful answer. Not it. Yeah. Thank you. Stand up. Glenn got it. There it is. Yay, give Glenn a hand. So maybe you didn't hear. All of those things, yes, not trusting enough, yes, love, return, yes, important, yes. And the reason we are in uncertainty is because it is a call to growth. Our soul has said it's time. Whether we said it here, our soul, individually, collectively as a spiritual community, collectively as a nation, collectively as a world, it is time to soar, not bore, fly, not flutter, thrive, not just survive. It's time to make another loop around the evolutionary spiral, upward evolutionary spiral. That is why uncertainty, upheaval, change, invited or uninvited happens. That's the only reason. And yes, it is a call to return to love. It is a call to trust more, yes. But the reason it's happening is because we have called it in. Our souls have called it in because we are ready to make the shift. Here's the other foundational truth I want you to know, to ground on, to live from. You have everything you need in you to do this, or it would not be happening. The fact that it is happening says you have, whether you know it or not, everything you need in you and around you to live in that space of uncertainty and to move to that next level. It's there. So take some deep breaths. Good. I feel like I'm kind of echoing or something. Am I doing something, Phil? I'm echoing, I'm too loud, that's on, something's a little bit off. Oh, reverb. That's it. Yes, I'm not a singer, which means I don't need the reverb. It wasn't reverb, but whatever you just did helped it. Whatever you just did, you're a good sound man. Thank you. All right, so it's good. So here it is. So the fact is, we called this in. The second fact is, we have everything we need in us to do what needs to happen. Therefore, it is our time to thrive. I want you to say that. It is our time to thrive. Turn to someone and look at them and say, it is your time to thrive. And now say, it is my time to soar. Finally, it is our time to fly. We didn't do that one yet. It is my time to fly. Our time to fly. There it is. Good. All right. So we're going to launch this week by saying our theme for this month is our superpower of uncertainty. That in fact there is superpower in this place of uncertainty, in this kind of gap of, I don't really know what's happening. What's happening right now? I don't know. There is power in that when we allow it, when we invite it, when we open ourselves up to it. So we're going to talk today about a particular superpower, and I'm posing it in the form of a question. Our superpower comes in the form of this question. When uncertainty hits, are we freaking out or finding faith? You don't have to answer that out loud. Although in first service I heard a lot of, I freak out, that's what I do. Are we freaking out or are we finding faith? Our superpower lands in a certain specific ways in how we answer that question. So I want to suggest to you that when uncertainty hits, as in everything, we have choice. We always have choice. Although sometimes our choices happen so fast they feel automatic. Oftentimes the freak out just feels like it automatically happens. I didn't think about it. But the fact is that you made a choice. And you can make a different choice. And I'm hoping, my prayer this morning is that with some new knowledge and information, you can make a different choice to not freak out, but instead to find your faith, or re-find your faith, or deepen your faith. So I want to look this morning at 3 kinds of fear, because that's what the freak out is about, right? You get afraid. 3 kinds of fear, 2 of which are actually very valuable, very helpful. 1 of which, not so much. You will figure out easily which is which. So the first kind of fear, and there's been a lot said about fear, a lot written, books and books and books written about fear, acronyms created around fear, all of that's good and wonderful and great, and today we're just going to focus on 3 specific aspects of fear. 3 types, if you will, of fear. Type 1 is we're going to call primal fear. It is an innate, genetic, ancestral fear that kicks in to keep us safe in our environment. It is the kind of fear that makes us alert and quick. It is the kind of fear that our ancestors needed when they heard the rustling of the bushes over here and looked and saw a saber-toothed tiger. Oh, good, I like that. That's good. That's good. They needed to be alert enough to notice it was there and quick enough to get the heck out of Dodge, right? That's primal fear. Now, run, yes. So we don't necessarily have saber-toothed tigers running after us anymore. Yes, we do. But we have things that our primal fear is still really important. If you were here, I don't know, a month or 2 ago, and I shared the story with you of driving down I-17, coming from Sedona, 80 miles an hour, following a truck that had a boat on it, and somehow that boat became unhitched, and it went up in the air, did a somersault backwards, and its nose was headed straight for my windshield. Primal fear kicked in. Thank you, God. Primal fear kicked in. And without a thought, without a deliberate action on my part of being calm and doing this, that was my primal fear. And I am so glad I had it because it kept me alive, and it kept my sister alive, and other people too, because if that boat had hit me, it would have hit other cars, and I would have hit, and it would have been a mess. Instead, I got out of the way. It bounced where my car was and bounced off the side, and nobody got hurt in that. So is primal fear a good thing? Yeah. Is it there to support us? The answer to that is yes, it is. We need that. The next one, however, can act like, at least initially feel like primal fear. That same kind of, that in your stomach, that tenseness, that adrenaline hit that happens. This can happen with this second kind of fear, but the ultimate result is not the same. In primal fear, we're alert, we're quick, we're ready to move, we go. This one, it's deer in the headlights. We don't move. We're, thank you, paralyzed. And it is called fear as projected thought, meaning there is no threat. There is no boat coming at us on the freeway. There is no saber-toothed tiger coming at us. There is nothing in this moment to be afraid of, but our brain takes us off in the future that I'm not going to have enough money by the end of the month to pay my rent, or I'm never going to be loved again, or I don't know how in the world that's going to work out, or oh my gosh, this diagnosis, I'm going to live my life as an invalid. They're all out there. You know that one? Do you know somebody who knows that one? Mm-hmm. I hear Elaine going, mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. That's fear as a projected thought. It's not here. We're making it up, and we're terrified, and we're paralyzed. So I want to give you an analogy, and I want you to close your eyes for this. And I want you to pretend like you're asleep. What minister in her right mind suggests the congregation go to sleep? That is just ridiculous, but here we are, right, here we are. So you are asleep and you are having a dream. And in this dream, a fierce grizzly bear is chasing you. And you are running, except you know that dream run where your feet are going and your arms are pumping, but nothing's happening? That's what's happening in this dream. You are on a high movement, adrenaline's flowing, heart's pumping, breathing hard, but you're going nowhere. And this bear is getting closer and closer, and all of this ruckus that you're making, and so is the bear, has awakened a den of lions that was asleep in the bushes. And now they come out, and they're very interested in what's going on and very interested in you. And then you notice above you there's this group of buzzards all above you, just waiting for their dinner, and you are terrified, and you are a deer in the headlight. You don't know what to do. What, my friends, do? You wake up, which I want you to do right now. You wake up. That fear isn't real. That bear, the fear is real. That bear isn't real. You have to wake up. Not primal fear, but fear of projected thought is fear of that which is not true. And so you must wake up to the fact that that is not actually happening right now. It is one in a million scenarios that could happen, but it isn't happening now. So we wake up. And actually, so is this fear a helpful or an unhelpful fear? Thank you. Very good. Unhelpful. Good. Just want to make sure we're clear on that. However, if we can wake up to it, it becomes a helpful fear, which is the third kind. The fear as our emotional guidance system. Fear as our emotional guidance system. Telling us something. Giving us a very important piece of information. A very important message. Would you like to know what that message is? Yes. Are you sure? Because you might not like it. The message is you're off track. You're off track in your thinking. You're off track perhaps in your behaviors. You're off track. You're out of alignment with what it is you desire, with what it is you know to be true, with your own spiritual beliefs. You're off track. The fear is there to show you that you are off track. So it's actually a really, really good thing. So say with me, first service, just like they just couldn't do it, but I know you guys can. Fear in this instance is a good thing. Come on. Fear in this instance is a good thing. I don't know. She's like, I'm not buying that. It is a messenger. I'm not saying live in it and wallow in it, although I am going to say something in a second. You might also say, oh no, too, but that's okay. It's a messenger. And I want to tell you now, here's where our superpower comes in. Our superpower comes in when fear as a messenger hits and we run toward it, not away from it. Ow! We run toward it. It is only as we run toward it that we can get the full depth and breadth of its message. If we run away from it, we won't get it. And then we get to hang out in fear as a projected thought. So I want to read a story to you. Is that all right if I read you a story? I could have thank you for saying yes, I'm really glad. I could paraphrase it and put in my own words, but I love the author's words. She's a little bit sassy, kind of like Elizabeth Gilbert or Jen Cisnero, if you recall Jen Cisnero, our author who wrote Be a Badass, right? She's kind of like that. And so this is a book that inspired this month. It's called Thriving Through Uncertainty, and her name is Tama Keeves. So this is also a bear story. She says, let me tell you a story about walking in the direction that seemed more immediately uncomfortable. In other words, toward your fear, because that's not, I acknowledge it's not comfortable. Let me tell you a story about walking in the direction that seemed more immediately uncomfortable. It wasn't an easy choice, but I'm a logical girl, and choosing life is always a smart call. Many years ago, I went hiking with a long-haired poetic boyfriend somewhere in the wilds of Oregon. We scampered along the trail for hours in the cool green of the forest. Then we practically fell to our knees and sang the gospel upon seeing the Pacific Ocean at the end of the trail. This is what happens when you live in landlocked Colorado. At the first sight of a body of water, you act like puppies. Giddy as we were, we ignored the time. The sun gradually evaporated from the sky. This wasn't good. It was a time of year that turned very cold once the sun had set. Just like that, we realized we were in danger. We'd both dressed lightly in shorts and t-shirts. We hadn't intended to hike this far. We had no camping supplies, jacket, pants, or milk chocolate to survive. So really, how were we going to? The moment we saw that draining sun, we started hightailing it to the trail back to the car. The light grew dimmer. We walked faster. My lawyer brain, she was an attorney, my lawyer brain kicked in, seeing possible liabilities everywhere, which is oh so helpful when your heart is already pounding so fast and you know the vultures are taking dibs on your body and choosing a wine to go with it. Then halfway out of the forest, we heard an unusual noise. A flock of birds squawked and fluttered away. They left a hollowness in their wake. Something didn't feel right. Something didn't feel right at all. Primal fear kicked in. Not a bad thing. The creepy, unsettling noise continued. Maybe it's a moose, said Kerr, her date, eagerly looking around. Now, he was one of those people who think seeing wildlife is a good thing. He stopped and dawdled, type A to the core. I, however, power walked ahead and peered into the darkness, into the trees. I saw darkness behind them, almost a blackness. Then, in the hideous slow motion of terror, I realized that the darkness was not some nice, woodsy, amorphous darkness, but rather a shape peering at me, the shape of a bear. Now, for the record, I am not the type of woman who looks at bears in fascination, even in a zoo. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. On my best day, I am way more comfortable pressed up against 1,000 sweaty strangers in a subway car rather than witnessing firsthand actual wildlife in the forest. But I was a long way from Brooklyn, and I was a slice of pizza to this bear. I instinctively walked backward on the trail, cautiously like a cartoon character. Then I ran farther back until I was at a distance where I could imagine breathing again. Kerr followed me, wondering what was going on. It's a bear, I said to him, terror and adrenaline lighting up my senses. It's a blankety-blank bear, as though there were any other kind of bear. Then our negotiations began. We started realizing the horrible Zen predicament of it all. We had to walk back past the bear to get out of the woods. We had to walk in the direction of our fear. Because it just so happened, as it always seems to do, that the direction of our fears was also the direction of our freedom. If we walked the other way, nightfall would set in, bringing its wet ocean breath of cold and death by hypothermia. We were already beginning to shiver. I imagined being mauled. Hypothermia sounded nice, just going numb forever. I really, really wanted to avoid the bear. I'm not a big fan on facing things I can't predict or control, and knowing they have the upper hand with claws, no less. Anyone relate? Mm-hmm. But then if we avoided that scenario, we were facing the guarantee of a slow, insidious death. Believe me, the symbolic choice here was not lost on me. At the time, I had only recently left my 900-hour-a-week legal career to dare my crazy dreams of becoming a writer. I had left the safe position because I knew it was numbing and annihilating my heart minute by minute. The comfort of that paycheck and validation was seducing me into a stupor in which I abandoned my will and lapsed into a menacing indifference about my own life. It was the hypothermia of having my heart grow cold. It hit me then that I would have to walk in the direction of my fear. I would have to walk toward the bear. If I walked by the bear, I might make it to total freedom. It held the only possibility of what I really wanted. I'd at least have a chance at life, but I'd have to walk by that bear. I'd have to risk the unbearable, no pun intended, uncertainty. So yeah, the fact that I'm writing this is a spoiler alert. I lived. We walked by the bear, slowly, praying silently to ourselves and to the God you pull out of your back pocket when you hope there is a God, and you hope he texts. We surrendered to the vulnerability of our desires and the purity of our instincts. Then we ran like hell, and if memory serves, I kissed the rental car's thin sides when we got back to it. That night, we ate at a local diner, and I told the waitress about the bear and how happy I was to be alive. I have no doubt I sounded like someone who had just seen a UFO. She gave us French fries on the house. I have never tasted better French fries. I know they were probably wilted with greasy, ordinary, or even too salty, but I was alive, and everything tasted alive to me. I suggest you walk by your bear. Whew. So you all raised your hands a few minutes ago when I asked at the beginning of this time together if you were facing uncertainty. You all pretty much raised your hands, and I suspect those of you who didn't are facing it also. Then you have a bear. You have some bear. And my prayer, my wisdom, my guidance is that you walk toward it. Walk toward it. Find the message it has for you. Find what it is trying to tell you. Where are you out of alignment? And one place where you might be out of alignment is that you have forgotten something. You have forgotten that there is one presence, one power, one energy, one life, one source. We call it God, universe, energy, Ralph, whatever, Harold, like in Harold be thy name, whatever. It doesn't matter what we call it. There is that power, and it has your back. 100% of the time. 100% of the time. Oftentimes our fear is because we forgot that. We need to refine that. We need to refine that faith. Now, sometimes when we move into this thinking, we make a rookie mistake. And the rookie mistake is we think that once we know that there is one presence, one power, one energy, one life force, one intelligence, one divine essence of love that has my back, that really is there supporting me in moving toward my highest good, my evolution, that we won't ever have any problems, that we won't ever have any challenges. That's a rookie mistake, my friends. No, we have challenges, we have uncertainty, we have problems for the very reason we already talked about, is so that we can make that upward spiral. Without them, we wouldn't make that spiral. It's just the way it is in this human experience. So don't make that rookie mistake, and don't think just because you're in uncertainty that that presence and power has abandoned you, because it has not. It is always there. I love that saying that if you think God has abandoned you, or you think God's not there, just check and see who moved. It's not God. It hasn't moved. We've moved. we get out of alignment. And things happen. Things that bring about uncertainty in our world happens. You lose a job. Okay, there's uncertainty there, but you didn't lose your skills, your talents, your creativity, your wisdom, and everything else that it took for you to get that first job, or a job before that, or a job before that. You lose a loved one. I can speak to this. You lose a beloved. Yeah, you've lost that person, but you haven't lost the love that you shared, and you haven't lost the light that that relationship brought in your life, and you haven't lost that which is in you that invited that relationship in. You haven't lost that. You still have that. It's easy to think you've lost something, but we haven't. We haven't. And it's that energy of life itself that is there in us that says, you got it, kids, you got it. And whatever the uncertainty is, you have it in you. You have it in you to face whatever it is. Just think about it this way. What if you break a lamp in your house and that lamp no longer provides you with any light? Does that mean you no longer have electricity? You still have electricity. You just got to plug it in again. Maybe it's a new lamp, sure, but you just got to plug it in. So we can move from freak out to rekindling, rebuilding, deepening our faith, or maybe finding it for the first time, by using fear as our emotional guidance system to show us that we're off track in some ways. Our heart's desire, and perhaps, and usually, yes, we're off track in what we know to be true, who and whose we are, this universal support system that is here for us always. And it is that way that we do rekindle, we find our faith. I want to leave you with a great quote from this little book that we do not have in the bookstore because I did not tell the bookstore manager to buy it. There you have it. Get it on Amazon. Just make it easy. Just get it on Amazon. But I love this idea. She writes, Tamakeeves, in uncertain times, we are walking into the grand unknown. It's scary because anything can happen. It's wonderful because finally anything can happen. I'm ready for anything to happen for myself, for our world, for our church. How about you? Are you ready? Good. Let's pray. And so we breathe deeply, deeply. And I invite you in this moment to find a place in you physically, an energetic center in you where you would say, that's my center point. That's the nexus from which my power comes. That is where the divine in me is concentrated and centered, and out of which and from which everything else comes. So just do a body scan and find that space, that place in you. And if you want to, place your hand or hands on it. As we anchor into that place of the divine, living, moving, and having its being as us. That divine energy of life, the life force, the intelligence, the love, the abundance, the wholeness, the peace, the clarity, the joy, the balance, the order. Each one of those things in infinite supply, existing in the big picture, to which we have instant and eternal access because it lives in us as well. And knowing this to be true, I speak my word for each and every one of us here this morning, knowing that any fear that we experience is just an opportunity to return us to truth. To truth that spirit is, life is, good, and we are on this journey for evolution, and all is well. I know that that is the truth. I speak that truth. I speak that truth for myself. I speak that truth for every beautiful soul in this room, every beautiful soul watching online, listening to this recording later. I speak this truth and know this truth for our nation. I know this truth for our world. And I know this truth for our spiritual community. That any uncertainty is simply a springboard for greatness, greater greatness. Any uncertainty is the springboard for the opportunity for us to soar, for us to fly, for us to thrive. And that is what we do. Being in profound gratitude for this truth and for the instant and perfect unfoldment and manifestation of these words, I let them go. I plant them in the law, knowing that the law is fertile soil, takes them and brings them forth into our world. So in faith, in trust, and in truth, we let it be. And so it is.